to learn just a little bit more, or maybe a lot more, about the iTeraCare devices. These are actually physiotherapy devices. And I just always love the screen that I put together, putting the power of the hertz to work for you, kind of putting the hertz where it hurts, we like to say. So before we get started, let me just share the disclaimer and just letting everybody know that the iTeraCare devices, they're household electronic equipment. They are not medical devices. They have been certified as safe to use. They emit no harmful radiation. We have labels allowing for its distribution internationally. And we all know we are not going to talk about using as a medical device, no diagnostic purposes, not intended to be relied on in lieu of medical equipment. Consult your doctor. Okay, so we all got all that, right? Took care of that little disclaimer. So let's just start right off on what is terahertz frequency, because this is a terahertz frequency wand. So way back, isn't it amazing the 2004 is way back, but way back, the US government named terahertz technologies as one of the top 10 technologies that will change the future world. And the scientists have been using and working with this terahertz frequency for so many different things. And we don't even really know about it because, you know, who's talking about it. But now when you start to hear about terahertz, you know what happens all of a sudden when you start hearing something, your perception, you'll start seeing it all over the place, where before you never even knew anything about it. But it's being used in the medical industry, in aviation, drinking water. It's just being used all over the place. And then, of course, we are now able to use it with our devices as self-healing, self-care devices. How cool is that? So what exactly is it? Well, it's a very specific frequency range, and that frequency range is between microwave and infrared. So if you're kind of wanting to know where that is, that's where it's sitting. And what it does is it's matching the vibrational frequencies of a healthy human cell. So it resonates with healthy human cells to activate the body's cells to function optimally. And we're going to talk about why that's so important and what that's doing in the body. And you can see some really powerful claims of some of the different scientists. It's the wave of life. It's the light of life. And I love what the Chinese called it. It's God's wavelength. That's pretty powerful. So now that we know terahertz, let's talk a little bit about the 3-in-1 core technologies that are in all of our devices. So the first one we just mentioned, and that's the terahertz frequency, resonating with our cells, activating healthy cells and dormant cells while eliminating bad, mutating cancer and free radical cells in the process. We'll get into more of that in a minute. It also not only is giving off terahertz frequencies, but it also generates something called scalar or quantum energy. And this energy goes out all around us. So the terahertz goes directly in, it's very focused. The quantum goes all the way around our bodies and out, and it energizes again the cells. It helps to balance the body systems, strengthens the body, producing healing energies, and it penetrates deeper into the organs. The third technology that's in these devices, we call it optical quartz. And the optical quartz is amplifying the frequency that's generated by the device. It's made with hundreds of exclusive different mineral ingredients. And this is interesting to me. It mimics 1/40th of the sunlight's energy, because sunlight is actually taking out the terahertz frequency. But the difference is that it doesn't penetrate deep into the body. So it's there, we're getting it. But with this, with that quartz technology, it allows those frequencies to penetrate deep into our body, up to 30 centimeters. So you'll see why that's important in a minute. And because of that, it's also strengthening the auric fields all around our body, and we all have those. So I love this particular slide that I added last time, and I thought I would just find this so fascinating. So if you take a normal cell, just a normal healthy cell, it is vibrating about 20 to 25 microvolts. But what happens to us over time and stress, bad diet, yes, bad diet, radiation, emotional stress, acidity, toxicity, that starts to create a weaker cell. The energy in our cells start to weaken, kind of like our little iPhones, right? So we have a cell battery in our iPhones, and over time and stress and usage, the battery starts to get lower, 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 and we need to plug it back into the wall to get that plugged back in and get the energy back up. That's really similar actually to each of our cells. So as that cell starts to weaken down to about 15 microvolts, that's when inflammation starts happening in our cells. So now we get the inflammation starting, and then we continue to get the radiation, the stress, the acidity, the toxicity. And over time now, the energy in even healthy cells continues to weaken until it becomes down to 10 to 5. It becomes a, quote, bad cell, or it's in an abnormal state. It's no longer a healthy cell. So now we're going to penetrate deep into these cells, into the body, with the terahertz and the scalar energy, and we're going to charge them back up into the healthy cells again. So that's just a beautiful explanation of what's happening. Let's talk some more. We've talked about eliminating unhealthy cells, but let me share that with you again. When we are putting in the terahertz frequency, again, I said it resonates and activates, like we just saw, healthy cells. But what if there are things in our bodies that are not at that same resonance or that same frequencies? What might that be? Well, how about some parasites? How about some bacteria, pesticides, herbicides, viruses? These vibrate at a different frequency. So when you put this terahertz frequency in, what happens is it vibrates those very, very fast. And when it gets faster, 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 it heats up, it liquefies, and basically it liquefies it. And this is why we do eliminate and have a certain amount of the toxicity. We get that detoxification effect. That's what's happening with that. I like to kind of even just think about it, and I'm sure you probably have seen the wine glass or the champagne glass, and then the opera singer sings out and she hits that really high note and boom, it shatters. Very, very close to what is happening here with those kinds of situations where it's coming in and then it explodes. So what else is it doing? Well, it's also activating the inert cells, and we talked about that with that. So it's going to, the terahertz frequency gets absorbed, it activates the cells with that moderate temperature, and then anything that's dormant, it either liquefies it or charges it back up. It increases the self-healing ability in the body. Just really clearly understanding that the device does not heal anything. All the device is doing is giving our bodies this frequency to allow the body to take that and increase its own ability to heal in its own time, with its own priority of healing. The body has a priority of healing. It will take the frequencies and find what is the most important thing that needs to happen now in terms of our health. Our bodies are so flippin' brilliant. And if you're not sure if it's brilliant, think about the trillions of cells that we have in there and all the things that it does all day long to keep us going, to keep us digesting, to keep the pH in balance, to keep us seeing out of our eyes, you know, on and on and on. It's amazing. All right, the terahertz frequency also induces and strengthens our DNA. And I don't know if you realize this, but there's always this replenishing of the DNA. The DNA loses, we get new DNA. And part of the issue is when our DNA is damaged and then it starts to replicate, it replicates in a damaged way. And that's partly how we end up with cancer. So this really helps strengthen the DNA and our organic molecules. Very cool, right? Did I miss one? Yes, I missed an important one. Whoop, sorry, you guys. It's very sensitive. It also clears meridians and lymph points. So this device was designed based on traditional Chinese medicine. So a lot of these terms, etc., that I'm going to talk about might not be as familiar to you because they are based on Chinese medicine. And, you know, over 3,000 years ago, the Chinese were able to map out the meridian system, and just amazing. And what we've now found in Western medicine over the last 10, 15 years, there's been so much study of fascia. And what we found is actually a lot of the fascial lines, we call them, absolutely mimic the meridian system. So I just find that so fascinating. And what this does is it opens up and clears the blockages that come in our meridians, and it also opens up and clears out the lymph points. So we're able to now get an opening in blockages. And when we do start to detox, the lymphatic system is working so that we're able to clear it out of the body. So those are some of the other things that are happening with it. Just so fascinating. I'm going to talk about the stem cells in a minute. Let's move on to improving microcirculation. So when you think about what's happening, that terahertz goes in up to 30 millimeters, and it's going to dilate the blood vessels. It reduces the blood flow resistance and viscosity, just meaning that what happens is with the fascia, the lymph system, etc., what happens is over time, poor diet, stress, the lymph system and the fascia starts to get very thick, and it binds up, creating scar tissue and adhesions. The lymph gets very stagnant, and then you don't just have this really good flow. So that's what's happening with that. But also our blood gets thicker and it stops moving quickly. So as this is dilating the blood vessels, the microcirculation improves, blood gets thinner, the lymph gets thinner, the fascia, and so everything just starts to move. So it's a huge part of what the wand is doing to help us. Does also regulate glands. Endocrine glands that protect our organs. We know that the endocrine glands are sending out hormones in the body, normalizing the bodily systems. And it removes body humidity. And this is how the TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, talks about body humidity. Let's also call it edema, right? So when we drink water, whatever that's not getting absorbed, it goes out. If we're doing a lot of salt or whatever, we get edema flowing, and that can really create a lot of issues like high blood pressure. So when our blood pressure is up, we go to the doctor. Sometimes they give us those Lasix or different things that can, make us reduce water. This does it automatically and helps to balance the body's immune system. So we're going to talk just for a second about the stem cells in the bone marrow. And I realized that my slides got a little out. So let me go to this one first. We're going to say just a little bit about the ancient Greek father of medicine, Hippocrates. How he knew this, I don't know, but Hippocrates way back when said, if there is a way to heat the bones, then all diseases can be treated. What a powerful statement. And Einstein said the future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. So when we take those two things together, what we can see is when we can heat the bones with this frequency, well, you can put it together from there. So one of the ways that we do this, and one of the things that Hippocrates was onto, is that in our bones, deep in our bones, the spine, the hip bones, even up here in the sinus area, we have what we call latent stem cells. Now, you might have heard about stem cell therapy, and stem cell therapy is when the doctors take stem cells that they've been able to get, and they maybe inject them in different places in the body. A very popular place to get stem cell treatment is in knees. So they'll inject it right into the knees, hoping that those stem cells will go right into that area and create new ligaments, new tendons, possibly new bone, so that it's regenerating. That's what the stem cells do. They go to where we need to regenerate, and they use those to regenerate into different types of body processes or different organs, etc. So when we are actually blowing the heat directly up and down our spine, which is one of the things that we recommend that we do, that activates our body's own latent stem cells. And when you look at this picture, I know you can't really see all the details, but there are different places in the spine that correspond to different organs and bronchs. Like right here is going to be your the bronchi or the lungs. So when you start to wand up here, it's actually going to be stimulating the limbs, so or the lungs. So it really is just a beautiful way to also help ourselves heal. So that's the other thing that it's doing. This is truly a revolutionary device. It is cutting edge and it is here now. So the future of medicine will be the future of frequencies. And that's why I always like to say the future of medicine is here. It's now. And we've now got it in our hands as a self-healing tool. But it's very important to only get a device directly from a Price international distributor. We are now seeing, because it is so popular, the demand is up. And so of course there's all kind of knockoffs. You can go now to Amazon and Etsy and eBay and different places and get them. They are not the originals. They do not work the same way. You are not going to get the same results. So that's why you want to make sure that you get one from Price International or somebody that referred you, somebody that we know is doing it, because we have hold the patent and have all of the strict safety and efficacy reports. And if anybody really wants me to prove it, you can let me know and I will send you the 53-page report. You may not be able to read it or understand it, but we got it. So we know it really does work, and we have the only one that is really effective. 62 clinical test reports that were issued by the Beijing Research Institute of Chemical Technology. We have all of those available. What's another great part about it? It's super easy to use. So do not worry, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this thing? Basically, I'm going to share with you our protocols, but in all honesty, you just turn it on and blow. It's really that easy. And you can just see some pictures of people doing it. Some people doing it on themselves. She's turning it on. She's working here. Somebody else doing it onto another person. But you can do it on yourself. You can do it on babies. You can do it on pets. All pets, including fish. We have fish that have been almost on their end, ready to go, and we've blown into the water and the fish come back. It's just amazing. Here's a lady that's doing it sitting on her back, and she's just going up and down this way. So really easy to use. All right, who is it suitable for, or what is it most effective and suitable for? Various itises, that's what we call inflammation, all the itises, because it helps that cell. We saw that when the frequency of those cells start to go down, that's the start of inflammation. When we are giving our cells that good terahertz and the cell is coming back, that really helps us reduce inflammation. So all of those can be so helpful. Inflammation, gynecological inflammation, gastritis, rhinitis, prostatitis, etc. We've had great results, really interesting testimonials with all of those things. Various pains, neck and shoulder pain, inflammation, opening up the fascia lines, joint pain, low back pain, headaches, depending on what the headache and what's causing it, dysmenorrhea, which has to do with menstruation, sciatica, all those things it's great for. Various blockages. So again, we go a little bit to that Chinese medicine, meridian blockages. So in Chinese medicine, they say that a lot of the dis-ease is caused by blockages in the energy system. Now, I do want to say one thing, because a lot of us are coming because we've seen these really too good to be true kinds of testimonials. Oh my gosh, I turned it on in 10 minutes, you know, everything was gone and I'm feeling great again. And yes, that can absolutely happen. But I do want to share with you that when you do have a pretty significant blockage in a meridian and you're blowing there to get rid of it, sometimes that pain or that discomfort could increase first because the energy is trying to clear through the blockage. So hang with it. I know in our Western mind, if something appears to be, quote, getting worse, we are so sure that we're hurting ourselves. So I just want to really create a confidence level to know that these are 100% safe. You are not hurting yourself. You are actually helping, but it has to get through the blockage. So just know that that can occur. And then once it's through, whoa, now you just have all kinds of energy and no more pain coming from that particular place. Same thing with the lymphatic system. When we don't move much, we get lymphatic stagnation, and now the body's detoxification cannot happen. So as we're opening this up, we're going to open up the lymph. We're going to get everything flowing again. Varicose veins, think about it the same way. We're going to open up from that microcirculation. It's wonderful for that. Weight loss, we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. Insomnia, we've seen lots of people whose insomnia has gotten better. Some right away. For some, it might take a while until the body rebalances, and then the sleep can happen as a consequence of that. High blood pressure, when you start to get rid of that excess fluid, the blood pressure can then automatically start to balance itself back off. Various skin conditions, great stuff for skin, acne scars, blemishes, just liver spots, aging spots, various skin conditions. We've seen great results with it from that. Now, who is it not recommended for? Number one, of course, we know we never recommend anything for pregnant women, goes without saying. Menstruation. I do always like to do a little caveat about menstruation, and that is, I've seen it both ways. Why is it not recommended? Well, when we think about what we were talking about with that, with reducing the blood viscosity and really making the blood work, really flow better. For some women, when they do it with menstruation, they find that they have a stronger or a heavier flow. With others, they don't. But one thing that does feel really good is when you get that cramping from there, when you use it for cramping, I have found that it can be really nice and feel good. So that's just something to play with on yourself. If you have an acute disease, something that comes on, oh my gosh, acute, you go to the doctor. You don't just blow, okay? People with anything congenital heart disease, or specific diseases where you're getting a lot of medical attention, that's where you need to be. This one's very important. Objects implanted in the body. Anything that you were not born with that was planted in there, you do not want to wand over it. Does not mean that you have anything implanted that you cannot wand. You just do not wand directly over it. So this, of course, you can see this particular person has a whole leg. Obviously, it wouldn't matter. You're not going to wand into the metal. But let's just say you have a knee replacement, a hip replacement. Do not wand over that. Okay. You have a stent, something in the heart. Do not wand over that. You have implants in your mouth. Do not wand directly over it. Can you wand your face? Yes. You can go around, you can go up here, you can go up here. Don't wand directly into where you have any kind of an implant there. Hopefully that is clear. I do want to mention one other type of implant. If you have any kind, including saline, breast implants, do not wand front or back where those breast implants are. Okay, enough said. Please use that. That is very, very important. Open wounds and fractures, don't recommend doing on an open wound or a fracture. You're going to go to the hospital. You're going to take care of that. And then you can wand after to help the healing process. All right, so that's just a big general, this is what's happening when we turn those wands on and blow. But let me just share with you the 3 devices that we actually have, knowing that all 3 of them do have all of the 3 core technologies. So the one that most of us actually start with is our Red Classic. And I love that it's red because then you know which one it is, right? It's the Red Classic. It is $350 in the United States. And that includes shipping. If you're from another country and you're interested in that, just let me know and we'll get you the pricing for that. Great for personal use. Has 3 settings. It has a high blow, high heat. It has medium blow, medium heat, and a high blow with a lower amount of heat. So that is your classic device. Beautiful. Then we had, from there, I'm going to go right to the Pro, because for a long time we just had the Classic and the Pro. I'm going to show you the pro so you kind of get a sense of it. I don't know. Dan, give me a thumbs up. Can you see me? No, he can't. So I'm pulling it up, but you can't see it. So after we're done with the presentation, I can show you that one. It is very heavy. You can see it here in the picture. It's much heavier device, and it was really developed to be used in a clinic setting. So if you are any kind of practitioner, you're going to be using it in the clinic setting, this is the one you want. It is quite powerful, has a lot of different settings, including a cold shot if you're doing anything with it for aesthetics. Beautiful device, a little more pricey, but that's what you're going to want if you're using it a lot all the time. And then recently we got a mid-level called the premium. And oh my goodness, I just love my premium. You can see it right here. It is smaller. It is very well built. It is a little bit quieter than the classic. For some people, they don't love the sound. It's going to sound like a hair dryer. That's really what it sounds like. The premium is a little bit quieter, has two settings. It has a low blow with a heat and a higher blow with an even higher heat. So let me just mention this to you. When they developed this, again, based on Chinese medicine, they recognized, and over the 6 or 7 years, the scientists have continued to advance the technology of these devices, and the premium is the 5th generation. So it is actually the most efficient, powerful one that we have. But what they recognized is that the heat is a big part of the therapy. You know, fascia, lymphatics, etc. The meridians really respond with the heat. So that's why there is not a cool shot setting on the premium. All right. There's the lower heat, lower blow with a little bit lower heat, but it is warm. So if it's too warm for you and you get the premium, you know what? You can just hold it out a little further away from you. But you do want to use all of these on the settings as warm as you can tolerate it in that particular place. So now I know there's different places on my body that can handle the heat better than others. And so sometimes I might use a higher heat and sometimes a lower heat, but it's very personal. Okay. There's no big rule about it except for what I just told you. So those are your 3 wands. Now let's talk about what do you do once you get the wand? Here it is, it's arrived, you unbox it, you look at it, you say, yay, so excited, can't wait to get started with it. The first thing you're gonna do is find a glass, take a glass of water, you're gonna put that wand right to the side here, and I'm gonna show you mine in a second, and you're either gonna hold it or prop it up on something, and you're gonna blow it right into that water. Now, why do we do that? Because it's going to what we call structure the water. Now, this is why it's so important. And as I'm talking, you can see all the different benefits of this. Regular water is clustered. And so when we drink the water, you might notice sometimes you drink the water, you drink a big glass, maybe you're thirsty or it's first thing in the morning, and like 5 or 10 minutes later, you're running to the bathroom, you're peeing it all out. Why? Because the clusters don't get deep into the cell. They're too big. Now, a little of it certainly will get in, but regular water just doesn't get absorbed well into our cells. And so guess what? Most of us are dehydrated. And dehydration is a big cause of so many conditions. One of them is back pain. I don't know if you recognize that, but sometimes just getting hydrated can really make a difference on your back pain. So when we put the terahertz in there, it actually structures it and creates more of a linear structure. And when you drink that linear structured water, that water is small enough now that it's able to get into our cells. So it's intercellular hydration. Now you get that water into the cell, and now it's able to clean out from the toxicity in the cell and then bring it back in. So it is so powerful. We're actually able to hydrate deeply, and that makes a big difference. This is why we always recommend, before you even blow on the body, that you take 2 glasses of this warm structured water, so that when you do start to blow and start to get some of this detoxification, that structured water can really help you just clear it out of the body. All right, so this is what my little setup looks like. I really like to have a big jug. So I love to blow in my water, have water for the whole day. So what I do is I fill it up with water. Now I have a whole house filter system. You may or you may not. What kind of water do you want to actually blow into? You know, you want to blow into one that has as few chemicals as possible. You want it to be as clean as possible, because when you're structuring it, you're also those chemicals have what we're going to call information. You don't really want to have a lot of chemicals in there that you're now activating. And then when you take it in, you don't want those chemicals to get absorbed into the body. So spring water is probably some of the best. Reverse osmosis can be fine. Those are some of the best kinds of water that you want. So enough of that. The second thing to know is that frequencies are much more active in room temperature or warm temperatures. Here's that warmth again, right? So that's why we want to heat the fascia. Everything gets more activated with the heat. So you don't have to have everything be hot. Warm temperature water is just fine. So I typically take kind of warmer water, and then I put mine on a little book. I have kind of a fat book there. I like to put a towel on it just to protect my wand. I turn it on. I personally turn mine on setting 1, which is the high blow, lower heat, because my water is already warm, and I just blow on it. Now, for how long? Well, if you just have 1 glass of water or 2, you can set them side by side for 2 of them. You can blow into it for about a minute. That should do it. For my big jug, I go about 5 to 7 minutes. I basically just put it on here. I turn it on, and then I go off and do whatever I'm needing to do. And because, you know, I get distracted very easily, sometimes it's on there 7 to 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. You can overdo it. It's fine. How do you know that it's really ready? You're going to take a nice sip of it, and there is a distinct difference in the texture of this water. I know, whoever thought about textures of water, you'll notice a difference. I really never drank much water, and as a fitness professional, I know that's such a no-no. I just didn't enjoy drinking water. I never found it to be helpful. I would choke on it. It didn't go down nicely, so I just didn't really drink a whole lot of water. This water is not like regular unstructured water. It is smooth to the taste. You can feel the difference. It's almost like silk in the mouth. I can drink this down in a heartbeat. I love the way it feels, and you can just feel those cells just sucking it right up. So hopefully that's what you need to know. I do get a lot of people saying, okay, Renee, so why do I only blow through the water? Yes, the terahertz will go through water. By the way, it goes through clothes, so you do not have to take your clothes off if you're uncomfortable doing that. It goes through paper. So it does go through a lot of different things. It will go through the plastic, but you don't want to wand through plastic, because plastic particles will go from that into the water. Do you really want more microplastics in your body? Believe me, we've got so much. Plenty already. So that's why you don't want to do that. Can you take the terahertz water and put it into plastic to take it with you? Yes. Can you put it into metal? Absolutely. You can put it into other things. You just don't want to blow through it other than through the glass. Can you put it in the refrigerator? You know, Renee, it was summer. It was super hot. I just don't like drinking warm water. You can do anything that you want. If you want to put it in the refrigerator or put ice cubes in it, yes. Will it harm you? No, of course not. But you won't get the same benefit of those active frequencies. So it's up to you. You can do it either way. All right, now that we've got our water wanded, we've now had our 2 glasses of warm water, or however much that you want to drink. We recommend 2. We recommend sipping on it, maybe not gulping it all down, but that's up to you. And then we start blowing onto the body. Now, I'm going to share with you what we call the basic protocol, the 10-step protocol. This is a beautiful way to begin to get started with your wand. Why? Because what it's going to do is open up the energy channels of your body. It's going to start opening the lymphatic flow. It's going to introduce these beautiful healing frequencies to your body so that your body can start to utilize them to open it up and start to unblock some of the blockages in the body. So it's a great way to get started. So what are we going to do? We're going to first blow on our hands just in circles, and I can show you that when we stop. We're going to blow maybe a minute on one hand, minute on the other. Why? All the reflexology points are going to be on your palms and your fingers. Then we're going to go down to the feet. Same thing, reflexology points. As you are blowing into the feet all around, maybe do tops, maybe do under, maybe a minute on each one. Because of reflexology and the meridian points, you're going to be actually opening up everything in the body. How cool is that? Now we're going to start working through the lymphatic points. So we're going to do it behind the knees, maybe a minute, 50 seconds on each one, just in circles. Then we're going to move up to the groin. We have lots of lymph nodes up in that groin area. You might have noticed sometimes some little kind of bumps that come up there. Those are the lymph nodes. Maybe especially if you've been sitting a lot, it can get stagnant. So we're going to go up into that groin area. What's the next lymphatic place? The armpit. So you're going to open the pit. You're going to do some circles around the pit, just working up through all of the different lymphatic points. The lymph in the neck, you're going to do up here in the neck. You can do both sides, maybe 50 seconds on one side, 50 seconds on the other, just introducing it, getting everything open and moving. Top of the back. That's a beautiful place also for lymphatics and just to open up with the vagus nerve and open up the top part of the spine. Now, number 8 is the one that we do have caution over. If you have high blood pressure, we recommend that you don't blow up at the top of the head. You don't want all the energy rushing to the top of the head. So just don't go there. We'll go right down to the butt. Taking out of the head, we're going right to the butt. You can just kind of move over, do a little bit right there on that bottom of the spine. And then we're going to blow down the spine. So from the top, you just go down. Now, if you're by yourself or you don't have anybody there to blow downwards for you, what are you going to do? What I do is I lie on my back, just like that one older lady you might have seen that I mentioned. And I'm just going to blow down from the front of my body straight down. I like to go kind of from up here in the throat all the way down. And I do that a few times, maybe for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Why? If you're trying to go down the spine, you go from the front because it penetrates 30 centimeters. So as you're going to the front, the spine is right here in the middle. You're getting it from the front and the back. It's vibrating, so you're going to get the back of the spine as well. So do not be upset or try and figure out how you're going to do it. Very easy. Now you've done all your points. You're going to drink or sip on a couple more glasses of water just to have everything flow out. And now that's how you're going to start. From there, after you do that, and how many times? Maybe do it 3 or 4 days, just see how you're feeling. If you start to feel worse, like, oh, I'm not feeling really good, maybe having a little bit of detox with it, then what I recommend is continue to drink the water. That's really important. And then maybe cut back the amount of time that you're blowing, about 50%, or just stop blowing for a day or so. Let everything just settle down and then come back in. And then over time, you can increase your time. Now, if you got this because let's say you have, oh my goodness, I have frozen shoulder or my knees hurt. I don't want to go through all that. Okay, then just take it. You do want to drink the water and then just wand right on those parts, 5, 10 minutes. It's better to start a little bit slower and work up. Just because you want to make sure to introduce this, be really kind to your body as you're doing it. But I don't want you to fear blowing on the body. There's nothing to be afraid of. All right. So now let me just share with you of some of these beautiful testimonials in pictures. So the first one was about weight loss. Remember, I said I'm going to mention this a little bit. So do we just wand in and immediately lose weight? No. But some of the reasons that some of us I mean, I know so many of us that are doing everything, I'm going to air quote, right. You know, we eat healthy, we move the body, we do all the things we think we can't, should, and yet we still have, say, belly fat, etc. Why is that? Well, you know what? Because over time, a lot of times toxicity, even if we're doing everything right, we're still out there, we're still breathing, we're going to a restaurant and drinking that water and eating that food. Let's face it, we live in a very stressful, toxic environment. So even if you're doing the very best, we're still getting toxic. And you know what? Remember when I said the body is so brilliant? Well, one of the things that it does brilliantly is when we have this toxicity, the body's like, what am I going to do with it? I can only get rid of it so much, but gee, this person's lymph system's stagnant. So you know what it does? It tends to put a lot of that toxicity, the toxic stuff, away in our fat cells. Why? Because in the fat cells, it's not there really harming the organs of the body. It's kind of like it's inert. So we're going to shove it back in there so that it doesn't hurt anything else. So then when we start to do all this good stuff, why don't we just lose weight? Well, a lot of times it's because the body doesn't want to auto-intoxicate itself. But when we're using the terahertz and we're removing the toxins, the excess fats and the water retention, all of a sudden we can start to lose weight. The body rebalances itself. As we start getting healthier, the body will do its part. And you can see, I mean, with this young lady, look, she looks pretty much the same up here, a little bit less up in the cheeks because of the reduced inflammation. Anytime you are reducing inflammation, that's when you can start to also lose some excess weight. I love this lady. She was so excited. She had rheumatoid arthritis and was unable to close. She couldn't move her fingers. Okay, she didn't have that mobility. But after just 15 minutes, it was able to relax the nerves, the tissues, and the muscles, and she was actually able to close her fingers. How powerful is that? This older lady, yes, she was a 93-year-old, could not move. She had to stay in bed and not move because she had such bad osteoporosis. If she were to move, she could have broken bones. So they decided, well, let's just try. This was 2 months ago. So now what did they do? They started to do the therapy for 2 months each day. And now look at her. She was up. She's actually in a cycle and she's cycling. Did this happen on one treatment? No. But for 2 months, they helped to blow on her body and look at what could happen. So even for osteoporosis. Remember I talked about how it's really good for skin problems? Here are just some nice before and after pictures. The first one over to the left with this young lady really helped with skin dark spots. People get that melosis. I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly. And this can really make such a difference. And what a great way to really help somebody's self-esteem, self-confidence when they've had it on the body. And now the dark spots, 70% were reduced after just the first therapy. Here's something after 30 minutes. You can kind of see how that looks. She started to reduce inflammation and also it lightened up. Giving some just relief on some of the face here. And even this lady, I just love it. You can see how she was really puffy here, a little darker here under the eye, and just from one session, look what happened. So I know I'm talking about one session, but I do want to once again say, you know, the greatest benefits that we get are with consistent use over time. Yes, some people get these amazing one-time results, but it's really so much better when you just continue to work through it. That's when you're really going to get a lot of these results. All right, psoriasis. We have had wonderful testimonials on psoriasis. Now, again, mentioning on this one with psoriasis, unfortunately, we don't know what the person looked like when they first started. This is what they look like after 7 days. And it wouldn't surprise me at all as if it looked a little bit worse, actually got a little bit redder, right? Because we talk about that as it's starting to heal. Sometimes it can get worse. Then 90 days, some of the redness is gone, but the flaking comes out. So again, if you don't really understand the healing process, you can say, oh my goodness, my psoriasis is getting worse. Very scared, let's stop. right? This is hurting me. In reality, it's healing. But luckily, this person understood that. They kept going, and this is what it looked like after 22 days. So keep going. Bell's palsy, this neurological condition. Imagine how awful that is, right? To get up one day and have this Bell's palsy condition. After a week of therapy, he continues to get better. So you can see how the body rebalances itself. Varicose veins. Here's another one-hit wonder, like I like to call it. The varicose vein got so much better, disappearing. Seen that, but I've also seen where it takes some time to get the varicose veins to go away. But you just know that microcirculation is getting better. Thyroid nodules. This woman had a huge nodule on her thyroid. After 10 sessions, you can see how much better it looks. So again, not one hit, 10 times, but she continued to do it. So that's, just want to do one final wrap up of this. Here we have the certificate of appointment, and just showing you that Prife does have the global distribution rights. Desheng manufacturers, they hold all the patents, but Prife has the international distribution rights. That's how you know you are getting the actual iTeraCare device. 3-in-1 technology, 6 years of R&D, continually improving this wand. Quality inspections, accuracy, and clinical test reports by the Beijing Institute of Science. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And you guys, thank you for letting me listen to all of this presentation. And so now I would love it if anybody has any questions or testimonials. Love to hear those as well. And again, we are on, it should be just recording on speaker view. So if you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be heard, please, you can just put it in the chat and we can look at the chat and answer any of your questions. So while you're doing that, go ahead and put that down in the chat. Cheryl will be looking at it, as will I. But the other thing that I also wanted to do, I had somebody that, let me see, I had it right up here. And now, of course, it's not, but I was going to share with you. I had somebody recently get the wand. They were very excited about it and just had an incredible result with it. So I had pulled it up, but now, of course, I can't find it because somebody else texted me and now it's gone. But essentially, she was just saying that she had some eye issues, and it was just one of the things that she was really hoping that the wand would do. And she also has type 1 diabetes. And so, a lot of times blindness, etc., vision can be very impaired when you have type 1 diabetes. And after just one session, she turned it on and she could not believe the difference. She was doing some wanding over the eyes. So you can wand over the eyes, by the way, cool setting, eyes shut, and maybe just do them in some circles. That's kind of how I do it. And she was amazed right on the first session. She was able to see better. She couldn't wait to text me and like, oh my gosh, if nothing else happens, this was worth it. It was really, really fun and exciting to see that. Thanks, Lorraine. It was so good to have you on here. So anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? If you are okay being on camera, you can come on, unmute yourself, or just go ahead and put something in the text. And I'm just looking at the questions. How long does the charged water stay charged? What we've said, yeah, thanks, Cher. Absolutely how I would answer it. We've heard anywhere, typically 18 to 24 hours. Now, I like to do it every morning, even if my water still has some frequency. Typically, I've pretty much used it all. But again, yes, you can use a pendulum if you know how to do that and you're good with that. If you're not even sure what that means, I'll tell you what, how I know, you can test the water, taste it. Does it still have that silky feel? If it does, you're good to go. If not, go ahead and rewind. But typically it lasts for the day. All right, I have you muted. Do I do? Okay, let me just see. I'm going to need to make sure that I unmuted. Allow you. Yes, I did. You're right. And now I have let you unmute. So thanks for that. Go ahead. Did you want to share?
Yes, I do. I want to give you an update. my testimony was around 2 weeks after my receiving the iCare wand. I was using just the water to splash on my head for precancerous cells that a dermatologist had been working with me back in over the winter months. And it got to a point where she said, Dan, this is no longer an acceptable option for you. You really need to go and get a blue light therapy, which is pretty aggressive. And I opted out and I said, I'm going to go find some homeopathic type of remedies and I'll check back with you in the fall. Well, fall came, but prior to the fall coming, tomorrow fall?
We're close to the
Well, we're
autumn
close.
equinox.
We're just a few days.
That's right.
But anyhow, so after 2 weeks of using just the energized water, charged water, I was noticing when I was splashing on my head was getting smoother and smoother and smoother. Today, I followed up with my dermatologist, and she said, well, Dan, how'd you make out with that cream you were using? I said, well, I used it for about 2 weeks. She said, well, let's see how it worked. And she says, well, what else did you do? And I said, well, I splash a little water on it every once in a while during the day.
She's like, said, what?
Yeah, that's what she was. She says, I didn't know. She says, and I said, well, it's a special water. It's kind of charged and it's got a different structure than normal water. I use this device. It's called an iTerahertz care wand, and I charge the water and I splash it on my head, and this is the result. I said, by the way, how's it look? She says, I'm so very, very impressed. Never saw such a transformation in this period of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, that is so awesome. I love that. Yeah. I know my husband also has a couple of places, just use places on his head, and he's been doing the same thing after he heard that you were splashing. He has his little spritzy bottle and he spritzes it here, and he spritzes and then sometimes he blows, but he's like, oh, I swear to God, it's getting lower.
I believe it.
So that's really fun.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a great day, and I'm really happy to share it with you. So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. That is so great. I love it. I know my hubs too. We were talking about like prostatitis, etc. And so he does wand as well there, and has shared with me, he just cannot believe it. Like he can go all night without having to get up and go to the bathroom. And that is huge for him. It's huge for most men that, because over time, the prostate does get enlarged, even if there's no issues. And it's hard. You're constantly having to get up to go. And he's like, Renee, I can't believe this. Like, I haven't gotten up in the middle of the night in like a week. So just another really good for all you ladies. If your man has that issue, then, if they're open to it, it works. So beautiful. Hey, Sherry, you have something else to say? Go, girl. You have to unmute yourself, but I think you can now. And she's like, where do I unmute?
Sorry, I was multitasking.
Imagine. Go ahead.
Imagine that. Not what I was going to say, but I will wanted to mention, I don't know if anyone saw today that testimony of the lady with the shingles. That to me was amazing. That alone, I'm sorry. I just was blown away by that.
I was too. Do you want to share a little bit about what she said? Do you remember?
She just used it for, I think it was just a couple of days. I mean, it was red and infected, and it was in her eye going all the way up, and you could just see the misery that she was enduring. and there was a side-by-side picture. So I highly recommend going on to the wand testimonial group and checking her out, because that is just so amazing. You know, shingles is awful. And
Yeah.
I have a friend who had it, pain of shingles in her stomach going down her leg for about almost a year, a little over a year.
Mm.
And she used it once and twice, and it was that pain was gone. So
Really?
yes,
Wow. I mean,
because it's a
that's
virus, and we, you know, we all know that bacteria and viruses and all that doesn't like heat,
right,
right?
right, right,
So
right, right. And think about this too, you guys. When we get sick, what does the body do? We get a temperature. And there's a reason for that, because the body knows that when it raises its temperature, it can kill the viruses, the bacteria, things that are getting in to harm it. And what do we typically do in the West? Oh my gosh, I have a temperature. Let's immediately go and get aspirin, right? And bring it down. And I'm not saying, you know, you don't want it to get too high. Obviously, we're going to keep track of it. We don't want it to get dangerously high. But, you know, it's a really good idea to allow that fever to stay so that the body can heal itself and kill itself. So that's beautiful. Thanks, Cher. That was a really good one. I was very impressed with that one as well. Yeah, beautiful. We had one of Cheryl's friends on last week talking about, she's a massage therapist, I believe, right? She's a massage therapist. And that's such heavy physical work. It really can take a toll on the body. And over time, she had a really tough time with her neck. Her neck was always in pain. As a matter of fact, she couldn't really turn. I actually had that happen to me years ago. And think about this, you know, you don't even think about how important it is to be able to turn your head, like when you go to drive. And I remember when that would happen, I would have to go like this to drive. That's really dangerous. And she was wanding. And anyway, bottom line is she's now able to turn her neck. And you know, it didn't happen in the first 1 or 2 treatments, but over a couple weeks, all of a sudden she's turning and almost didn't even realize how much more mobility she was getting until somebody else mentioned it. And then she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. So a lot of times healing can happen, and it's subtle because, you know, here's what I find. People were like, okay, Renee, so have you heard any testimonials about bump, bump, bump? And they list all their diagnoses. Okay. So know that this is not healing anything. That's why we don't talk in terms of diagnoses. Okay. All we're doing is giving the body what it needs to heal itself. And that is just so powerful. So, but most of us have a something, right? That we're like, okay, I'm going to get this one because I want to get rid of this or that. Right? So we're so focused on only that. So we're noticing, we're wanting, is that going away? Oh, I'm not seeing a difference in that. It's not working. And then we miss all the other things that the body is healing. It can be subtle. So if you don't have a wand already, or if you do, I'm really going to just encourage you to just, when you do it, have positive intentions. Just understand now you have the education, the understanding of what this wand is actually doing, what it's giving the body, and then allowing the body to take it and heal you in its priority of healing. It's not our ego's priority of healing, it's the body's. So pay attention to all the ways that the body is shifting and changing and healing for you. Quick example, I had noticed over time that when I would wash my hair, I would get handfuls of hair. Ladies, as we get older, right, the hair falls out. I'm sure men as well, right? And I was kind of getting scared because I already have kind of thin hair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like handfuls. All of a sudden, I've been wanding about 2 weeks, and I'm washing my hair, and I'm like, now wait a second, I don't have handfuls of hair anymore. And the longer that I've been wanding, the better that's gotten. I didn't get the wand so that I could not lose hair, but that was a beautiful example to me. I didn't get the wand because I have floaters in my eyes that were bothering me. I just lived with these floaters. They're just there. They're part of the scene, right? And all of a sudden, one day I'm outside and I'm like, you know what? Those floaters are gone. oh my gosh, I don't have floaters anymore. But it was subtle. So over time, I just noticed more and more things that are just getting better. So I'm just going to really encourage you, stay with it, have positive intentions, use it like this self-love tool. You're loving yourself back to health. And notice and give thanks. Be grateful for this incredible device that is here to help us heal. Just a beautiful thing. All right, so Paula has put her hands up a number of times. So go for it, Paula.
Hi, I just got my wand last week, and I'll say that I decided to go for the self-love spa effect, and I had no clothes on, and I was laying on my bed following the protocol, and the first thing I felt was like, oh my gosh, this is like being on an exotic beach, being having the ocean breeze wafting over my skin, caressing it. It felt so darn good. The warmth and the breeze, it was just beautiful. I had it on level 1. And I was anticipatory as all get out as to what this would help me with. And I was going to have carpal tunnel surgery last month on my right hand. And I live alone with my cat, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I really don't want surgery. And the person that spoke to me the whole time was the assistant. I never got to meet the doctor till like 2 days before surgery. This is kind of a long story, and I apologize, but it's significant to me, and it might help other people. So the physician's assistant said, well, you do have, from your nerve conduction study done 2 years ago, it shows you do have mild carpal tunnel, and you have maybe a little bit of energy, electric coming from your neck that's going down your median nerve to your fingers to make them tingle and numb and almost paralyzed. I mean, I'm a writer, among other things, and I couldn't write. I couldn't hold a pen for like 2 minutes. I couldn't really type sometimes. And let's see, where am I here? So he said, well, let's get an x-ray of your neck. And I got the x-ray. He said, well, I don't know, it could be a pinched nerve. Let's see a better picture of it. So I had an MRI done. And he goes, yeah, it looks like the arthritis that you have is all over your body. It's in your neck, and it's probably pinching a nerve. And so then I've had a pulmonary embolism, 3 blood clots in my legs requiring hospitalization. I'm on a blood thinner. I have a blood clotting disorder. And so it was like, no, you really can't have that operated on safely to remove the pinched nerve, whatever they do. And so, and the PA said, well, I think you would still be relieved of some of your tingling and stuff if you get the carpal tunnel surgery. So I had to go on a bridge medicine that was very expensive. I had to inject my belly with subcutaneous injections of this Lovenox, which is a bridge so that I don't bleed out when I have the surgery. I did that. And then I finally met the surgeon, and thank goodness he was an honest man, because he said, Paula, I would not recommend you have this because of the nerve impingement, which is inoperable. You're not going to be relieved. You're still going to have it zapping you with those jolts of electricity, and you don't need it. Well, I could have hugged him, but COVID was still kind of in, so we fist bumped. And anyway, so I did the protocol, and it was lovely. And I went to bed and slept 6 hours straight, which is phenomenal because I've been getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep at a time for the last, 4 years. And when I woke up, I turned on my right side and I went, oh, I can lay on my right side. Oh, look, I can lay on my right side and my shoulder's not sending down those little electrical things making my fingers go. I went, oh my gosh, I had very little mobility in my neck, especially the left. For the last 2 years, I've been going to a chiropractor 1 or 2 times a week, and she or he, it's a husband and wife team, would do their ministrations, and it never really released it. I mean, it was good for, I don't know, a few hours or a day. And I think what happened was my cells were intelligent and were given the oomph to go to the right places and released the pinched nerve in my neck.
Oh,
That
Paula, that is
is
so exciting.
phenomenal.
Yahoo! Right?
It's like, oh my gosh, this works. I have psoriasis, and I have a little bit under my iPad. I mean, my eyeglass pad. And the second day, you can see it a little bit. It got worse. It flaked a little bit like that guy's skin that you showed covered. Oh my God, poor guy. And I'm going, oh, it's working.
Good for
It's
you. See,
working.
because you
We'll see
understand that
we'll
it
see
can
what
get
it does
worse.
tonight when I do it for the 3rd time. I'm so excited. I have a lot of other conditions that I'm looking for good results. So
Good. Thanks, Paula.
thank you, Renee, for doing these, because you're the reason I'm here. Because I chose you to be my sponsor, because I felt I resonated with you, that you are a loving spirit that wants to really share this with the world. And thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for sharing that. We'll be excited to keep on your journey and continuing to celebrate all your successes and your healings, Paula. Thanks for sharing. So good. All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna say goodnight. We've been on fairly long, and thank you all for coming on. If you don't have a wand and you're looking at possibly getting one, make sure to get to the person who introduced you to this and who invited you to the Zoom. And thank you all so much. Have a beautiful evening.